So welcome to another episode of Wiki Weekends with me, your host Karl Smallwood, and my friend Lucas, who's far away at the moment.
I certainly am far away, yes.
And far away, Lucas, would you like to talk about Captain America's shield?
Captain America's shield?
Yeah.
Okay, is this like the one that they stole or the one that they made or what? What's going on?
Well, we'll find out all about that. So, today specifically, we're going to be talking about Captain America's shield in the comic universe. And we're referring to the wiki entry you can find linked below. But before that, Lucas, what y'all know about Captain America's shield? Because it's actually, within the comics, has a really interesting property. And it's one of those things that's basically been a mainstay for the entirety of its history, and I think it'd be interesting to talk about just in relation to the idea of comic power creep.
Yeah.
So what do you know about his shield then?
Like that's the thing, I don't know too much about the shield specifically. As I mentioned, like I've heard in different variations of the comics that it's like sometimes it's like the shield was actually stolen from Wakanda or something, and then other times it's like similar to the MCU where someone has like built the shield specifically for Captain America, or like, you know, for some reason not for Captain America, but then he gets given it.
Yeah, and there are many different versions of Captain America's shield, and like, you know, the version in the MCU is pretty iconic now. I think like like they had all those movies of build up of it, like its power set of the shield like progressively increases throughout the movies. Of like first it's stopping like bullets from a gun from like, you know, World War II, and then he's like leaping out of buildings with it, like when he's charging stars at the ground.
That's one that always gets me. If like I know it absorbs all impact, but
his shoulders don't.
Yeah, that's the thing. It also like he doesn't completely get covered by that shield.
The thing is though, he kind of does. Have you ever seen those breakdowns of like when Chris Evans, or maybe his stuntman, I'm not sure who it is in each individual scene, but when he's like running into gunfire, he'll jump and he'll curl into a ball, and he'll like Sonic. He like Sonic homing dashes sometimes, so he's like got maximum coverage from the shield.
Oh god.
That's like when you told me about that person who broke down, just that drop kick he does where he goes like completely horizontal.
Like, because obviously they've got a crash mat underneath the actor, like you see the stuntman go completely just horizontal and drop.
To drop kick like that Ultron drone, and they just like awkwardly cut to him stood back up. And you know, it's one of those things where they could have made him do it again and do a more realistic drop kick, but it's like, no, we're not. We're cutting around that shit. We don't care how awkward it looks. Like it was too boss.
Oh dear.
But for anyone out there maybe who wants, like, you know, just a rundown of the specific thing we're talking about today, I have a description from the wiki page here, and it says Captain America's shield is his primary weapon, and I love that his primary weapon is a defensive weapon. Like, he beats people to death with something purpose-built for defense.
I mean, technically yes, but like you watch Multiverse of Madness, and it's like, yeah, that thing goes through people. Like, if Captain America wanted to chop you in half with it, he could.
Yeah, and it reminds me a little bit of, have you ever seen those like people in like Dark Souls and Elden Ring who go for like the full strength shield builds and just push people off the edge of cliffs? It's so good. We says here that the most well-known of his shield is a disc-shaped object with a 5-pointer star design in its center. Within, and we all know this, red, white, and fucking blue. Because that man is America to the core. And I will never not reference the fact that in Ultimate Marvel versus... Lucas is already giggly now.
I was about to mention it, that's why.
Go on, tell me about the fact that he is America to the core.
So yeah, in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, when you use the super move Charging Star, it doesn't matter what colours Captain America is wearing, like based on his outfit, he will always like charge forward with the colours of red, white, and blue at his side.
He will always just leave like the America aura. Just like, do you like Goku Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan 2 with lightning? But with Captain America, it's just red, white, and blue and eagles flying out of his arsehole. It's insane. This shield is composed of a unique combination of vibranium, steel alloy, and an unknown third catalyst. And here's the rub. That makes it different from its MCU counterpart. Like the MCU counterpart is pure vibranium. And they talk about the reason they can't make another one is because vibranium is so rare. In the comics, it's made of vibranium, which is rare, but they say, like, in an early comic, a scientist fell asleep with some vibranium, like, on melting, and some shit fell in that he didn't know, and it created, like, this shield that's indestructible, and they've never been able to replicate, like, what happened. So
some, like, weird accidental vibranium alloy.
Yeah, and they've never been able to figure out exactly what the shield is, because it's indestructible, so they can't, like, take a sample of it to find out its exact chemical makeup.
That's always my favourite things, and they kind of touched upon it in the She-Hulk TV show recently, where it's like, for example, when they want to get blood from She-Hulk, it's like, well, what the fuck do we do? Because needles can't penetrate her skin, so how are we meant to get a blood sample?
Yeah, they do that in, like, the Ang Lee Hulk movie as well, don't they? Where they try to take a blood sample off him, and they trap him in, like, the foam, like the crazy foam. And they go up, and then instead of having, like, a needle, they have, like, a drill.
Yeah.
And it's so scary when they're going at Hulk's neck, and you see the guy who's like, am I really going to go towards this giant rampaging green man? And the guy's like, fucking getting with the drill, getting with the drill.
I can't remember what it was that I've seen, like, relatively recently. That, on the DC side of things, where, like, they use a Kryptonian scalpel. Was it in, like, BVS?
There's a couple of times where they do it with Superman. And there's also, like, how he shaves.
Yeah, no, that's what it was, yeah, because in Batman vs. Superman, the fantastic film that it is, Lex Luthor gets a kryptonite scalpel to take a skin sample from Zod.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking of.
The best bit as well, that thing to showcase how, like, indestructible, like, Superman and, like, other Kryptonians are, has already been done way better in the Christopher Reeves movies, where they have, like, 1,000-ton weight supported by one of Superman's hairs.
Here you can see a 1,000-pound load easily suspended by his single hair.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they have, like, this a Superman museum in one of the films, and one of the things they showcase, like, Superman donated a single hair off his head, and this hair is supporting, like, 1,000-ton weight.
I mean, I never realised that, like, his super strength pertained to his strands of hair.
Well, yeah, that resulted in a bunch of, like, comic fans in, like, the 1960s and stuff writing in and complaining, well, how does Superman shave if his hair's indestructible? And, like, they say that Superman looks in a mirror and lasers his hairs off, but then they have that.
Removal.
But then they have it in, like, the DC animated Superman show, where he looks in a mirror and just lasers his beard off.
Like, that's great as well, because that's not actually laser vision. That's heat vision. So that means he's burning it off his face.
Yeah, that's the thing. His skin's more indestructible than his hair, I guess. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but here we go. So it's never been duplicated, like the material that makes his shield, and it's called proto-adamantium. It is virtually indestructible. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to talk about his shield today, because power creep in comic books is insane. Like, the things that Captain America could do in the 1940s compared to, like, what he's doing in comics today, they're so wildly out of step. Like, his shield, it was indestructible in the 1940s, it's indestructible today. And no matter how much more powerful heroes and villains have gotten, that shield has always been the most singular indestructible object in all of Marvel canon.
Yeah, that's the thing, is how do you power creep a shield that's already indestructible?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Weirdly, you'd think, like, they did it in the MCU, didn't they? Oh, we're going to show Thanos as being super boss. He breaks Captain America's shield.
Mm-hmm.
In the comics, they've never really done that, and presumably we're going to get to the bottom of the list, and it tells you, like, most people have, like, dented it slightly, and people are, holy shit, you dented the shield! That's enough!
Is that, like, shot of Captain America's shield broken, not a rip from the comics, then?
I think in one comic, like one of the Ultimate Universes, you know what, we can talk about it when we get to it in the wiki. Mm-hmm. But it says here that it is as much an offensive weapon as it is a defensive one for Captain America, because he can just charging star people off of cliffs. Cap uses it against his enemies, mainly by throwing it at them, and he can perform mind-bogglingly impossible tricks. And I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the fact that, like, it started with he just hold it and, like, run into people, and then he just started, like, fucking just playing pool and shit off walls.
Because that's what I did appreciate in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is that what it's called?
Yeah, they so
I keep always going to say
Wilson.
Captain America and the Winter Soldier, but it's not.
No, it's Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
But when they actually show him training of how to do the ping-ponging off trees correctly.
Yeah, and they have some stuff in the comics that say the reason like Captain America's so good at that is because he's got like the super serum affected his eyesight and his brain function, so he can calculate the angles much better. He just calculates the angles in his mind instantaneously, so he's like naturally predisposed to be able to be good at ricocheting his shield. And what's going on? What's your favourite like thing Captain America has done with his shield then, in the movies or the comics or one of the TV shows?
Oof.
Because like while you're thinking, I think the one for me is where him and Thor just come up with that like, you know what, just fuck you, screen clear, and just have Thor hit the shield. Do we just like Thor hits it and just creates a shockwave?
Because they utilise that at the opening of Age of Ultron as well, which I think like that one fight scene, like most people don't really bring it up, but it's a good showcase of a lot of different powers. Yeah,
they were trying to showcase that every member of like the Avengers is useful in a certain scenario. Like you have like
and
the Hulk doing
coordinating a lot better.
Yeah. Like you have the Hulk taking out like all the heavy artillery, but then you have like, Black Widow sneaking in and using a stealth and a guile to like take out individual soldiers, and then just like the thing is though, then Captain America takes advantage of that when he gets Mjolnir, and he's just like beat it. He's like just baseball batting Mjolnir.
I mean,
with
that's
the shield.
true. That can't just not be the answer, right? Like, it's just when he does the 10-hit combo on Thanos and like.
But that's the thing, he's like hitting his shield.
Mjolnir off the shield in midair to make him like dazed and confused.
Falcon punch.
So, like, at one point, do you think in one comic we're going to get Captain America just get psychic powers and he just starts, like Virgil summon swords? Just with the shield?
Just summon shields everywhere.
I want to bring this up because, I'm going to edit this one so I can put the clip in. I was watching videos of mods people have done to Devil May Cry 5, and you'd think people would mod it to put new characters in. Like, one of the most popular mods for that game doesn't do anything except make Virgil sit on a plastic chair in the final confrontation.
Hey, Virgil. Your portal opening days are over. Give me the Amato.
If you want it, then you'll have to take it.
Because of like a meme in the Devil May Cry community. But then someone modded it so that all of Virgil's summoned swords turn into plastic chairs. So Virgil is just firing plastic chairs at people. I'll put the clips in. I'm editing this one so I can put as many clips in as I want. It's fantastic. Oh. Well, as well, I was thinking, I was watching that Avengers cartoon, which I recommend people watch, because there's a bit in it where, like, Thor and the Hulk high-five, and it creates a shockwave and kills a bunch of robots.
Is that the one Avengers Assemble?
Yeah, it's like that Hulk and Thor have a proper bromance, and they're like idiots. They're basically like Bill and Ted. And they have, like, a bit where they're just looking after Avengers Towers, and you have, like, the Hulk putting, like, watermelons in a microwave, just to see what'll happen.
Oh, dear.
Would you like to hear some, some physical characteristics of the shield and its
height 6 foot tall?
Well, it's a shield, vibranium uru metal. Model is unique and its dimensions are 30 inches in diameter and it weighs just 12 pounds. That's not that heavy.
Inches in diameter. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking for a second in my head you said centimeters. I was like, how does Captain America ever hide behind this?
He Samus it turns like a tiny little ball.
A little morph ball behind the shield.
Oh, would you like to know an incomplete list of the people who wielded this thing?
Oh god, yeah, because there's no worthiness needed like there is for Mjolnir.
No, it's not that heavy. So Steve Rogers is the current owner. But notable alternate owners include this is the scariest one for me. Frank Castle in one universe where he becomes the Punisher.
God, yeah.
Carol Danvers.
The Punisher cat.
Because the thing is, how much scarier would Captain America be with a gun? Like, do you know, like, start of the MCU is his first movie, he just has a gun and a shield. That's so much scarier.
I think the different question, Karl, is how much scarier is the Punisher when he can't be shot?
Well, don't forget, there's that Punisher comic where they give him an Iron Man armor.
Holy shit!
I think this would be one.
Just scary with a fucking baseball bat.
I think this one would be scary. Matthew Murdock.
Oh yeah.
Daredevil. It's like Think about how good Daredevil is at throwing his billy club, and now imagine if his billy club could bounce 1,000,000 times. So when he's like
just one corridor fight scene, it's just the shield getting perfectly thrown at every single person.
Oh man, did you ever see like the Xena Warrior Princess TV show?
The only time I've seen any of it realistically is like when people were sharing clips of like, fucking hell, Billy Butcher's in this as some like angel dude.
Oh, because I was going to reference like the chakram that she has.
Right.
Where she could throw it and she could see me like, curve it around. There was like a really crap PS1 Xena game where they had the chakram in it and you could control where it went. And you could basically, from the very start of the level, beat the final boss of that level. Like, if you could steer it all the way around the entire level and just hit the final guy you had to go beat.
So that kind of reminds, I guess it was like similar but not quite as well done as like the remote Batarang in the Arkham games.
I was thinking you're going to mention that one as well, where you could just like, you throw the Batarang and just like criminals are, what's going on? And Batarangs to the penis. That reminds me of like another crap video I saw. It's on YouTube, just like this thing of like, this is how I play Batman Arkham Asylum after watching The Batman. And you think, okay, it's going to be like a combo video or something like that. And it's just Batman walking to criminals who are shooting at him and falling over dead. Because how often like Robert Pattinson Batman does that.
Simulation failed.
Like, he's really not very stealthy in that movie.
Yeah, he's getting shot all the time. And then the other one is
Yeah.
Miles Morales. Is that the other notable person who's wielded it on Earth at 616?
Holy shit.
Spider-Man with that shield would be terrifying.
But invisible Spider-Man as well.
So you can, I think he's invisible, so that makes it like the shield is like being controlled.
Just a floating shield walking towards you. Like, what do you do?
Would you like to hear about the creation? Because I may have gotten like some details of the creation of the shield wrong. There's probably someone in the comments like, that's not actually what really happens.
Yeah, let's let the wiki inform us.
So here's creation, American metallurgist, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Dr. Myron McLean was contracted by the US government to create an impenetrable substance for use on tanks, while attempting to perfect an indestructible alloy as strong as the legendary adamantium, which according to this Hercules' golden mace was made from. He was hoping that it would give the Americans an advantage during World War II. Yeah, I mean, imagine if you had if you had a Captain America shield tanks. You'd only need one.
The worst part is as well, like, obviously they talk about vibranium being a very precious resource, especially outside of Wakanda. And then this guy manages to, like, make a mistake on the one piece that they've got. It's like, it worked out well for him, but imagine, like, the other side of that story.
It was like one of my favourite bits in Age of Ultron. It's where Ultron just like breaks down. It's like it's the most versatile metal on Earth, and you use it to make a fucking frisbee. And then you think like, well, is it really that versatile? It's metal, and then you find out like, in Wakanda they can use it for like making circuits that are so advanced that you can have like wearable electronics or like impenetrable shield projections out of like cloth and fabric.
It's like it seemingly can be made into an alloy with like whatever other things that you want, so that you can create realistically anything out of vibranium.
Yeah, they have like the Kimoyo beads that you just put a bead in like a bullet wound and it fixes bullet wounds and broken spines.
Because like the suit itself that Black Panther wears is just like woven vibranium into the material. It's not fully vibranium, and yet still it does all the bullshit it does.
Yep, and just lets him just like dubstep blast his way out of any problem scenario. This is here. Dr. McLean worked tirelessly using a steel alloy, now known as proto-adamantium, and an unknown metal, now known to be vibranium, or more precisely, Wakandan vibranium. While the Doctor was asleep as a result of exhaustion, an unknown factor caused the metals he was working on to bond. And the fact that at no point in any of the comics as any of like the mega hyper geniuses that exist in that universe, who Captain America personally knows and in some cases works with, have ever just figured out what that was.
And I guess that's how they get around it. Like, we made a mistake, and it's hard to replicate a mistake. It's like when you're working with the smartest people in the world, like Tony Stark and Reed Richards, can they not like scan it?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, has Mr. Fantastic never just said, "Give me it"?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. But I love the idea that they say like no one's been able to figure it out. It's like, really, nobody. Well, they think as well. They've got so much information. They're like, we know the two metals that you used. We just don't know in which exact quantities and what it was that like happened here.
Like, hand it over to, like, Wakanda and see what they say.
Either way, though, it says that the shield was cast by Dr. Myron during his experiments. He combined vibranium with an iron alloy. He was working on to create the disc-shaped shield. He was never able to duplicate the process due to his inability to identify and here it is, still unknown factor that played a role in it. The alloy was poured into a shape of the disc. Some say that Dr. McClane chose the disc as shape for its versatility, while others say he used an existing cast design for tank hatches.
I mean, okay, I guess.
Yeah. I like that no one really knows why he made it into a shield. They just gave it to Captain America.
They just made a Frisbee and went, I guess this will work for Captain America. Like,
well, they use it mostly for like he was doing like USO work. One, he was like performing in shows and things. Like, did he really need that? I guess like if you don't know what you're gonna do with it.
Well, that's in the Captain America MCU movie. I don't think they give him the vibranium shield until like he's already proven himself, right?
Yeah,
he just
no,
goes
they have
in
that big
with
way,
like that
yeah,
metal, like Patriot shield that he's got.
Yeah, like, yeah. And I think they give him it, then he steals it. So I don't have to rewatch the movie and we'll put the clip in. It says here that he was given to him by FDR, and I love that in those early like World War II comics, they didn't give a fuck and they just name drop actual historical figures.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, it is the president giving Captain America the shield. And it says here that it was on Steve Rogers when he crashed into the Arctic and was frozen after being revived by the Avengers. Tony Stark made several electronic and magnetic improvements upon the shield, which allowed Rogers to control the discus in flight, like Xena.
Oh, so we actually can?
No, it says here that the additional components threw off the balance, so Rogers removed them.
Oh, right. Like, when you see what he can do with it anyway, does it even matter?
How fucking scary would it be if you could throw it? And you just like...
Like, you know what I wish it would be like, though? Like, he'd have to do, like, arm movements, like, like, for example, Yamcha with the spirit ball.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Like, proper swinging his arm, like,
That'd be amazing. Can you imagine if he did it and you didn't realise he threw the shield before he walked into the room? You're there like, what are you going to do, Captain? You just like, you hear a knock on the door and you open the door and just the shield smacks you in the face.
Now, who could that be at this hour? Yes, up, down, side to side. What's your point? Ow!
Properties. Captain America's shield, a concave disc, 2.5 feet in diameter, 3 inches thick, weighing about 12 pounds. The shield is made of a unique Wakandan vibranium and proto-adamantium alloy that's never been duplicated. Its atomic structure is possibly unique in the universe. Molecule Man, who's one of the most powerful people in Marvel, and we'll cover him one day if you complain about enough in the comics, has stated that although Thor's hammer Mjolnir and the Silver Surfer's surfboard were bound together by strange forces, the shield was even stranger. Keep in mind, a guy made this while he was asleep, and Silver Surfer's surfboard is like Silver Surfer's surfboard. And Mjolnir is like a condensed dying star that was breathed life into by a literal god. And that's what I mean. I love how special it is remained. Like, they've never said, "Oh, we made a better one."
Yeah.
So that's what you're expecting with power creeping comic books of like, "Oh, we need to update his look." No, we made you a better shield. It's like, no, his original one is still and always the strongest, most indestructible thing, and everyone's like, "Man, this thing kicks ass."
Or, for example, as you say, like Tony Stark making modifications to it, or like Reed Richards or something, of being like, "Oh, look, I've attached nanobots so it can expand out or something, to cover you completely." Or
yeah, and it's just that no, Captain America takes them off like the original's still the best. So Thor's statement that there are none like it in all the worlds implies that the shield's uniqueness extends to other dimensions like Asgard. So even dimensional traveling beings are like, the fuck is this? Like, the fuck this shield? They're looking at, what is this? The shield has great aerodynamic properties and is able to slice through the air with minimal resistance and deflection from its path. Its overall resilience, combined with its natural concentric stiffness, it says that, enables it to rebound from objects with minimal loss of angular momentum. It's pretty much virtually indestructible, resistant to penetration, temperature extremes, and the entire electromagnetic spectrum of radiation. The only way it can be damaged in any conceivable way is by tampering with its literal molecular bonding. And it says that in the comics, he has used the shield to cushion the force of impact when being dropped from several stories by standing on the shield. And see that they should have done that in the films. Even stand the shoulder check is pretty cool, but if he was stood on it like a fucking surfboard.
yeah, because obviously, for example, the mission at the start of the Winter Soldier movie where he just soldier drops without a parachute.
Oh yeah,
It's
it's like, did he
Can you
have
imagine
a
if
parachute?
instead he just put the shield on his feet and you see him like surfing towards the boat?
You ready for this? The only vulnerable component that can be affected by conventional weapons is the shield's internal holding strap. A mercenary once threw a machete that severed the straps while Cap was holding his shield. This made the weapon much more cumbersome because he had to hold it by its rim. That's the thing. Like, someone's like, there's no way for me to destroy this, so they just fucking cut the straps off. So you have to hold it like a frisbee or a plate. You think as well, like, maybe after some point, it's like, Cap, I know you're like, you're old, and you're like, you know, it feels the way it did like 20 years ago. Maybe you should replace the strap with like nanobots or something. And there is something here that I was curious about, and it's, like, you know, helpfully noted in the trivia section of like, can Magneto just like take the shield out of his hand? It says, for some reason, Magneto's powers do not work on a shield despite it being made of metal. And do you want to guess what? For unknown reasons. It's like writers don't want to explain it.
Bond that they accidentally made to make the shield. It's like they accidentally made an alloy that can't be touched by Magneto. It's like,
even though Magneto can use every.
I think all they had to do was say that vibranium isn't magnetic.
Well, I do think you should have got another one. Not even to replace it, to have two.
Well, that's what I was thinking earlier. I was like, is there any anything on that page that says there's like alternate variations of the shield?
Yeah, he says, like, you know, he's had plenty. We have here other shields used by Captain America. So he has a steel shield that was contained the seal of the United States. It remains among his personal effects until it was crushed by someone in an Avengers comic. A similar traditionally shaped shield made of vibranium was given as a gift from the Black Panther of Wakanda as a token of a pledge to stay out of World War II. Supposedly, it's on display in a Wakandan museum. So he was given, like, you know, a traditional one, like the African shields, I imagine. These Zulu warriors and stuff wield. A third shield of the traditional design for some time resided in the Smithsonian Museum. This version was used in combat against a Hydra agent, and it was lost in the Atlantic. The Smithsonian variant was eventually destroyed in battle against the Kree. I bet as well there's a lot of fake ones. Can you imagine how many, like, fake Captain America shields are on, like in eBay? After returning the adamantium shield following the Armor Wars, which I'm certain we'll get a TV show about that.
Oh, we are.
Yeah, everyone keeps forgetting how much shit Marvel's making. Like, we've got, like, Justin
so
Hammer
much.
coming back for the Armor Wars. He used a discus-shaped Wakandan vibranium shield given to him by the Black Panther. And there's an energy shield variation used by both Sharon Carter and Taskmaster. Taskmaster has, like, an energy version. Yeah, and there's also been, like, a fair number of Captain Americas who like seeing the mantle. Because you know, so we know Sam Wilson. It says here that Clint Barton also temporarily stood in as Steve Rogers when they thought he was dead.
I mean, that's a hell of a person to give the shield because he'll never miss with it.
See, he must have just took the piss with the amount of trick shots he did. Imagine, like, how gutting it's got to be to, like, get that taken off you. Because that'd be like a toy for Hawkeye.
How many trick shields did he make? That's the true question.
Oh, man. Just a shield with a knife on it. It's like, do you imagine when Captain America came back? He's like, Clint, you know I don't like putting extra shit on my shield. What have you done? It's like, no, Cap, well, this is great. I made you a trick shield. Like your trick arrows. You put a boxing glove on it. It's like, no, knife. just one knife on the shield. Do you know those Roombas? We have Roombas and stuff, and they put, like, a knife on them.
The Danger Roomba.
So yeah, Cap, what have you done? Well, I put Vaseline around the edge so people can't take it off you. No, what you do to the shield is you put a stick in the middle and put a piece of dog poo on the end.
Oh no!
So when he runs at people with it, they've got a. So yeah, if you like this episode of Wiki Weekends, please subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. And also, we have a podcast, don't we, Lucas? Where we go more in depth. We have dueling wikis, as it were.
Yeah, we will be soon as well competing in, like, which superhero wiki we can find against one another. Well, technically it's not superheroes, it's supervillains.
Depending on when this video goes out, that might have already come. And if it has already come out, we'll put the link in the description below. But yeah, if you are a fan of this kind of content, if you're a new fan who's just discovered it on your own, like, please subscribe. If you're a fan for Fact Fiend, thank you for clicking on the link that we no doubt put in a video on that channel. It's much appreciated, and we hope to see you again for the next one.